Before we start, I want to ask you something. If you've ever felt invisible at work, if you've ever given years of your life to a company that replaced you without blinking, then this story is for you. Please take 1 second and subscribe, because stories like this, they matter. And once you hear what happened next, you won't forget it. My name is Tom Anderson. I'm 58 years old. And until recently, I believed loyalty still meant something in corporate America. That belief died on a Wednesday morning. They called it a quarterly update meeting. That's what popped up on my Outlook calendar. Anyway, just another midweek gathering in Meridian Technologies' glass conference room. Overpriced coffee, polite nods, and the usual corporate theater. But the moment I walked in, something felt wrong. 2 cameras were set up in the back of the room, angled straight toward the podium. Not for training, not for documentation, for performance. You know that feeling when you enter a room and the conversation stops just a second too long? Yeah, this was worse. I've been building security systems for Meridian Technologies longer than most people in that room have been alive. 32 years. I helped wire the first server racks when this company was still renting office space above a hardware store. I built systems that never failed, systems that protected contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But none of that mattered anymore. Patricia Richardson, our CEO, stood at the front. Power suit, perfect posture, that polished smile she saved for investors and cameras. Everyone called her Patty. She loved the spotlight, but this time, there was something different in her eyes. This wasn't confidence. IT was finality. I took my usual seat in the third row, same one I'd used for 5 years. Ever since they moved me out of my basement lab and closer to collaboration. Around me, engineers and project managers shuffled in, most of them young enough to be my kids. Hell, my 17-year-old son Ryan probably knows more about their programming languages than I do now. But they don't know what I know. They don't know what it takes to keep systems secure when real money, real power, and real corruption are involved. IT 58, your brain doesn't just think about code anymore. IT thinks about time. I had maybe 7 good working years left, assuming my retirement account didn't crash again. The mortgage still had 8 years to go. $2,400 every month. No mercy. No pauses. And sitting on my kitchen table at home was Ryan's acceptance letter to MIT. $55,000 a year, $220,000 total. Money I had promised my son. He would never have to borrow. Patty cleared her throat. The room went silent. That rehearsed corporate voice filled the air. After careful consideration, we've determined that Thomas Anderson is no longer aligned with Meridian's future direction. It took a second, just 1.4 my name to register. And when it did, the coffee in my stomach turned to acid. She didn't look at me. She wasn't speaking to me. She was performing. For the cameras. For the board watching remotely. For investors nervous about the upcoming $950 million merger with Pinnacle Capital. 32 years of work. Reduced to 1 sentence. Delivered into a microphone. Here's the part that hurts the most. I wasn't surprised. I'd seen it coming. The writing had been on the wall the moment they started hiring 25-year-old hotshots, talking about agile methodology and disruptive innovation. They looked at guys like me and saw dead weight. I sat there, back straight, face neutral. No reaction. A few people started that awkward courtesy clapping. The kind you do when you don't know what's appropriate. Others stared at their shoes. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of watching me break. What Patty didn't understand, what none of them understood, was that the system I built wasn't replaceable. IT wasn't something you download or outsource or modernize. Over 15 years, I designed a 4-layer verification framework protecting every major contract Meridian ever signed. Layer 1, basic authentication. Layer 2, legal authorization. Layer 3, financial verification. And Layer 4, that one was mine. A quantum encrypted blockchain authorization layer that only I could approve. Remove any layer, and the entire system locked itself down. No shortcuts, no workarounds, no exceptions. And standing there, applauding my dismissal, Patty had just fired the one person capable of completing her precious merger. She just didn't know it yet. You know what's strange about getting fired after 32 years? The world doesn't stop. Nobody hits pause. No dramatic music plays. People still check emails, refill coffee, complain about meetings. After Patty finished her speech, there was a moment of silence. Then she smiled like the show was over, and just like that, my career ended on camera. I stood up slowly. Not because I was weak, but because I refused to rush out like I was ashamed. I walked toward my desk like I was just heading to lunch. Same routine, same hallway, same carpet I'd walked across for decades. My workspace looked exactly the same. Organized, methodical, everything where it belonged. The coffee-stained mousepad I'd been using for 8 years. The old keyboard I refused to replace because it still worked perfectly, and the photos point one of my Chevy Silverado at a company picnic, back when Meridian still pretended to feel like family, and another one, the important one. Ryan, standing in his graduation gown, holding up that MIT acceptance letter, grinning like the future was already his. That picture hit harder than anything Patty said, because suddenly, everything I'd worked for felt fragile. Jim Walsh appeared beside my desk. Head of security. A good man that I'd recommended him 8 years ago, back when he was a nervous young father just trying to keep food on the table. Now he had the job no one wants. Tom, his voice was barely above a whisper. I'm really sorry. This isn't right. They're making a huge mistake. I nodded. Just do your job, Jim, I said quietly. You've got a family to think about. Mortgages don't care about principles. We walked together toward the exit. The office felt different, too quiet. Keyboards suddenly became fascinating. People stared at screens they weren't even using. A few met my eyes. Apologetic, uncomfortable, guilty. Most didn't. At my age, you learn something important. Most work friendships aren't real friendships. They're convenience, politeness, proximity. The glass doors. Jim hesitated. They don't deserve what you built for them, he said. Take care of yourself. You too, Jim. The badge scanner beeped. The doors opened with that familiar mechanical hiss. Cool air rushed in from the parking lot. Car exhaust, sunlight, normal life. I stepped outside and didn't look back. What I carried with me was heavier than any box. Knowledge. Knowledge that Meridian's entire merger depended on systems I designed. Layer by careful layer, with no backup. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment. The quiet settled in like an old jacket. Ryan was out at a study group, preparing for his MIT interviews. He had no idea. His old man had just been erased. AT58. Getting fired isn't like being 30. Companies don't see experience. They see liability, health insurance costs, retirement timelines, someone who remembers when integrity mattered. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat by the window, and watched the city move on without caring what had just happened. My phone sat silent on the table, and no alerts, no emergencies. But I knew it was only a matter of time. 3 days. That's how long Patty's confidence lasted. I was finishing my morning coffee, thinking about updating my LinkedIn profile, wondering if anyone would hire a 58-year-old systems engineer, when my phone buzzed. Meridian's executive line. Patty. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then I set the phone down and watched it vibrate like an angry insect. The irony was almost funny. 3 days ago, I was disposable. Now, I was essential. When the call dropped to voicemail, I waited a moment, then pressed play. Her voice came through, and it wasn't the confident CEO from the podium. This was panic. Tom, please pick up. We have a situation. The merger documents won't clear without your authorization code. Legal is breathing down my neck. Pinnacle's executives are asking questions every hour. I need you to call me back. We can work something out. Work something out. That was Patty's language for when power had shifted completely out of her hands. I deleted the voicemail. Went back to my coffee. Outside, trucks rumbled past. Dogs barked. Life continued. For the first time in 32 years, corporate chaos wasn't my problem. The calls kept coming from Patty, from legal, from numbers I didn't recognize. On the second day, I finally answered. Amanda Foster, the lawyer handling the merger. Sharp, professional, normally respectful, but desperation strips away manners. Tom, this is just a formality, she said, forcing calm. We just need your digital signature. Nothing complicated. Formality. The same word Patty used when she fired me. Just a formality, I said slowly. I built the framework your contracts are trapped inside. I know exactly why it's frozen. Silence. The kind lawyers hate. I won't be signing anything, I said. Not today. Not ever. The next morning, Meridian stock dropped 12 points. Financial networks called it a procedural delay. Markets don't lie. When confidence cracks, numbers fall. My system was speaking louder than any press release. And then, an anonymous email arrived. One line. They need you more than they think. The other side knows it too. That anonymous message stayed with me. They need you more than they think. I didn't reply. I didn't forward it. I just sat there, staring at the screen, because deep down, I already knew it was true. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. That I turned on the financial news. Meridian Technologies was scrolling across the bottom of the screen, again, and again, and again. Meridian shares slide amid merger uncertainty. They called it a delay. They always do. But delays cost money, and uncertainty scares investors more than bad news. Another voicemail from Patty. Then another. Then an email marked urgent. Then critical. That I ignored them all. For 32 years, I'd been available at all hours. Now, they could sit with the silence. BY midweek. The whispers became headlines. Unnamed Pinnacle Capital executives were questioning whether the merger could proceed. Certain technical authorizations remain outstanding. That was corporate language for we don't trust them anymore. Pinnacle wasn't stupid. They knew something didn't add up. Meanwhile, I was at home doing math I never wanted to do. Unemployment benefits would kick in next week. $420 a week. Barely groceries. I'd saved. I'd planned. Still, my emergency fund could cover maybe 8 months, if I cut everything. After that, retirement accounts, or selling the house. That's the part no one talks about. Pride doesn't pay bills. That's when Patty made her worst decision. She went public, standing behind the same podium, the same cameras, the same confident smile. Her legal team had found a technical workaround. The merger was back on track. I watched the press conference from my kitchen table, eating a peanut butter sandwich, already cutting expenses. The stock ticked up slightly. Hope is cheap. What Patty didn't know was that I'd planned for exactly this. Back in my defense contract days, you assume someone will try to cheat the system. So I built in a learning algorithm. Any attempt to bypass authorization wasn't just blocked. It was recorded, flagged, and escalated. The next day, reports started leaking. Meridian's legal team had tried to force the bypass. For a few hours, everything looked fine. Documents loaded, systems accepted input. They probably celebrated. Then the failsafe triggered. Every unauthorized credential was detected. Every document, every version, every backup, frozen. Invalid. Dead. I pictured the chaos. Lawyers staring at screens filled with red warnings. IT teams scrambling. Board members watching a $950 million deal collapse in real time. And Patty, finally realizing there was no workaround. The stock didn't just fall. IT plummeted. News outlets that praised her solution that morning destroyed it by evening. My phone buzzed with messages. Did you do this? They're saying it was a security feature you built. I didn't respond. Let the system speak. That evening, my phone rang. New York area code. Pinnacle Capital. I answered. Mr. Anderson, the voice said calmly. This is Brian Matthews, COO at Pinnacle Capital. No panique. No begging. Just respect. We cannot proceed without your authorization. Our board has suspended all forward activity. Finally, honesty. They underestimated you, he said quietly. Meridian did. I leaned forward. And you? I asked. We recognize talent when we see it, Matthews replied. And we recognize that Meridian made a historic mistake. Then he said the words that changed everything. We'd like to make you an offer. Chief Technology Officer, $280,000 base salary. Benefits. Equity. A role where experience mattered. There was one condition. They needed to know Meridian was finished. No reconciliation, no return. I thought about Patty's performance, being fired on camera, 32 years erased. That bridge isn't burned, I said. It's ash. That's when things escalated. Federal agents, search warrants. Meridian's offices raided. Because my system hadn't just blocked the merger. IT had been flagging financial crimes for months. The protection system had become an evidence trail. An FBI agent called me. Sarah Collins, Financial Crimes Division. She wanted to understand the architecture. We met over bad coffee. Shell companies, backdated contracts, offshore accounts. My system had caught it all. They just needed help explaining it. Consulting fee, $180 an hour. Several months of work. For the first time since getting fired, I slept. The first time federal agents walked into Meridian Technologies, I wasn't there. I watched it happen on the news from my living room. Coffee in hand, barely breathing. Computers seized, files boxed up, executives escorted out with faces pale enough to match the walls. The same halls where I'd walked out quietly were now crawling with agents. Funny how fast power disappears. Agent Sarah Collins kept her word. The investigation didn't stay small. What started as a failed merger turned into something much darker: money laundering, defense contract fraud, shell companies feeding offshore accounts. Every red flag, every anomaly, every minor irregularity. My system had logged it. Time-stamped, encrypted, untouchable. The same system Patty wanted me to compromise was now the reason she was finished. I wasn't just a consultant anymore. I was the guy who built the evidence trail. Every meeting with the FBI felt surreal. No shouting, no drama, just quiet professionals reviewing data that spoke for itself. Truth doesn't need volume. 2 weeks later, Meridian's name was everywhere. Headlines didn't pull punches. Defense contractor under federal investigation, CEO faces fraud charges. Merger collapse reveals systemic corruption. The $950 million deal was forgotten. That was pocket change compared to prison time. Patty was arrested quietly. No cameras, no performance, just handcuffs, and consequences. 8 years in federal prison. The judge specifically mentioned the security system, called it irrefutable. I sat in the courtroom, listening, thinking about the day she fired me on camera. Life has a way of balancing accounts. Meridian Technologies filed for bankruptcy. Assets sold. Employees scattered. Some landed on their feet. Some didn't. That's the part no one celebrates. Jim Walsh called me one evening. I'd already recommended him to Pinnacle. He thanked me. We didn't talk about Meridian. Some chapters don't need revisiting. Pinnacle Capital was different. No flash, no ego, just people who understood valued my first day as CTO. No one asked my age. They asked about architecture. They listened. They trusted experience. Ryan was at the kitchen table doing calculus when I hung up the phone. Good news? He asked. I smiled. Very good news, son. His MIT tuition, covered, mortgage, paid off by Christmas. For the first time in years, the numbers worked. Ryan looked at me and said something I didn't expect. Dad, you're smiling. I hadn't noticed. He was right. I hadn't smiled like that since his mom died. Work had been my shield. Getting fired broke it, and somehow, that saved me. Ryan started MIT that fall. Debt-free, proud. When his friends asked what I did, he said, my dad builds systems that can't be broken for the good guys. That might be the best title I'll ever have. 6 months later, I deleted the last voicemail from Patty. I didn't need it. Silence can be closure. Here's what I learned. AT58. Getting fired isn't the end. Sometimes, It's the correction. The moment the system finally works the way it should. When loyalty matters, when integrity holds, when experience wins, and when the truth, no matter how long it waits, always rises to the surface. That if the story meant something to you, if you've ever felt invisible, undervalued, or written off, remember this. Sometimes the door closing is the system protecting you, and sometimes losing everything is exactly how you find where you belong. Thanks for listening.